So I'm delighted to be with Evan Maindonald this afternoon, co-host of the National Development Summit. Now, Evan's from Melt Property, so we're going to go into a little bit more about why the change of name from Melt Homes, which I'm so used to saying, to Melt Property. So Evan, CEO and founder of Melt Property, formerly Melt Homes. We're going to have, the structure of the video is threefold. So we're going to focus on the current projects which Melt Property is working on. The second part of the video is then going to cover the schemes which Evan's looking at, and when I say Evan, I'm looking also at the extended team. And then we're going to go into the National Development Summit, the third part of the video, both exploring KFH. Evan's introduced me to John East. So John East is one of the key people behind research at KFH, and Evan will explain why he thinks KFH is one of the more interesting estate agents in terms of the knowledge which they can provide. Look, I'm rambling on. Let's get straight over to the point. Evan, so projects you're working on right now. So Hive 162 is completed. It's interesting, you were really open to, I read your Facebook post which said things didn't go quite to plan. I was amazed you put that online, but...
Well, I think the whole point is that actually things don't always go to plan. I don't think in any business, but in property development they can go wrong. The measure is not whether they go wrong or not, the measure is what you do about that and how you fix it. So, yeah, no, it was a difficult year last year, but it was also a good year. We've made lots of progress, we had lots of challenges, and I expect next year to be, or this year I should say, to be just as interesting and full of opportunity.
Was Hive 162 the most problematic issue, would you say, last year, or...?
No. I think we had problems all over the place. I think the good thing though is that what we did last year is we dealt with those problems, and just before Christmas we completed a refinance on some of our investment properties. That was a big step. So we're going into 2020 with a really good platform to grow the company. We've wiped most of the issues that we're working with out of the way, and so we can focus on offence rather than defence, if that makes sense.
Sure. Look, Hive 162 is one of the projects which I know best because I've been there, I think, at least 3 times. In terms of the other projects that you're working on right now, Kennington is one of the more noted ones.
Yeah, so we're currently working on 3 live projects. There's Lime Grove in Tuffley, that's a 19-unit development. We're about halfway through that. That's 12 new build houses and the conversion of a former school building into 7 flats. We're doing a 10-unit build-to-rent scheme in a place called Cinderford in Gloucestershire. And we've also got the project in Kennington, which should end up being about 115,000 square foot mixed-use development, likely to be an apart hotel-led scheme.
So Evan, so we've looked at what's coming up, or we're looking at right now, and just going into the future, 2020, 2021, you're looking at potentially some other sites as well?
Yeah, so actually in the first quarter of 2020 there are 3 to 4 sites in particular that we will hopefully get tied down. There's a 132 unit scheme in the Cotswolds that we've been working on for about 12 months. That will hopefully come to fruition by the end of March, or at least we'll get that secured and start working on it. We've got another hotel-led scheme, or potential hotel-led scheme, with a gross development value of something like 45 million in London, in Zone 2, Central London. And there's also a small scheme that we're looking at doing as a joint venture with somebody in Shropshire. It's something that's already been secured. So it's a 5-unit new build scheme.
So just remind me, the 132 unit scheme, is that Shropshire as well?
No, that's in the Cotswolds.
Oh, okay. See, I have to admit, for me, anywhere outside of London I get lost, because I know London, probably one of the best in London, possibly one of the best in the UK, knowing London, but I get lost when I have to get out the circle line. Now, in terms of the other part, I said we would cover a little bit about KFH, because you know them a lot better than I do. I was really looking to bring some new speakers to the National Development Summit. I'm delighted bring Nicola Keenan, for example, from Box XX Creative, I think that's how you say it. So massive thanks to Nicola getting involved in award-winning interior design. Of course, there's new speakers there. Ben Richards from Aura Architecture, who's one of the sponsors. Yeah. John East, never met him, to be fair. Evan has. Evan's spoken a number of times with KFH. Your involvement and how you see KFH, Evan.
Yeah, so we talked to KFH about the scheme that we're doing in Kennington. There's a possibility that that could end up being a residential-led scheme. That's not our target consent, but we looked at how it would work as a residential scheme, and so we talked to a number of residential agents in London, and KFH impressed us because of the quality and depth of information that they had about the residential market in London. They've got a network of branches, and they've got a computer system that they use to collect information from all of those branches, and it gives them a really granular understanding of which markets in London are moving, what the turnover is, where prices are going up, where they're going down, where stuff is.
When you say which markets, are we looking at the primary market?
Well, no, so I mean down to the level of, how is Streatham doing compared to Kennington? How is Clapham doing compared to Tooting, for example? So, an ability to see which parts of or which regions within the capital are doing well in terms of sales levels, in terms of pricing, where prices are going up, where they're going down. That sort of insight, and also the sorts of properties that people are buying, that sort of insight is very useful for a developer because it helps you understand how the market is moving and where to target your schemes.
So we've briefly looked at KFH, who are going to be one of the early presenters of the summit. I've got Piotr and Jay giving the auctions-focused, developer-focused presentation as well. To me, in my eyes, they are some of the top experts in auctions in the UK, and I don't say that easily. I've had over 200 events in the last decade, so I've had the likes of EIG Group, for example, David Sanderman as well, so I'm really delighted to bring Jay and Piotr together to do joint presentation.
Yeah, those guys really know their stuff on auctions. Yeah.
So look, you're not going to hear from me at the event very much. Your own presentation with Grace, who's head of operations, is focused about scale, and you've certainly done that in terms of the number of employees you have in Melt Property. So in the last 6 months, you've brought in one or two, or maybe more than one or two new staff members or team members. I don't know what role you call them.
Team members. It's more the last 12 months, and we've scaled up in terms of the team that we have in place, but we've also scaled up in terms of the size of the projects and the numbers of projects that we've got on the go. So we're scaling up in more than one way. So the presentation will be myself and Grace Valentine, who's my head of operations, and it's called Structuring for Growth, and it will be about how I started and built Melt Property, how we've scaled in the last 12 months, and also the plans that we're putting in place to scale the business going forward. So anybody who is interested in either starting out to be a property developer or just getting some ideas about how to grow their business, I think will find that very interesting.
So Evan, in terms of the presentation, what are some of the key nuggets people are going to take away?
I think they'll have to wait for the presentation for that, but what we'll look to do is to give people the benefit of our experience. Now I think every entrepreneur has a different journey, and so just because something has worked for us doesn't mean that it'll work for somebody else. We do things in a particular way. What I would hope, and so that I think for me is one of the things that I find most interesting about other entrepreneurs or other people's businesses is learning from things that they've done and then taking those ideas and using them in your own business.
So Evan, we're going to conclude now almost. So just to summarise, 18th of January is the date. Someone asked me, is the event going to be recorded? My focus is for the event not to be recorded, for you to be there. And why? Look, it's not, I don't mean to upset Evan here, but this is a scenario, this is a story. I got a phone call from one of the attendees who was there last year, in 2019. Said, I've funded a deal, I've come in as a joint venture. That person funded significantly, we're talking a 6-figure sum. So they met an attendee there, and it's literally not just about the presentations, it's also about the networking as well. Now, was it just literally that meeting? Yes and no. Yes, that's the only time they ever met in a physical networking event. Was it the only time they met? No. It's developing a relationship. And Evan, just to summarise or just to conclude, you've also met some key team members. So I'm not sure what Brendan's official title is, O'Leary, but you met him at the Summit 2018?
I think he saw me speak at the summit and then approached me afterwards, so I didn't actually speak to him there. But yeah, Brendan O'Leary's our development manager for London and the South East. I think if I just made one useful contact at the summit, that would make the whole thing worthwhile for me. But
so you're looking at expanding. I see you're looking for a finance manager. Is that right?
We're currently recruiting for a finance manager in in the South East, based in Kent. And we're also recruiting for a rental and development coordinator in Gloucestershire. So 2 positions at the moment on the property side of the business.
So those are key positions which Evan's looking to connect with. In terms of networking, how do you find it? And it's not, from my understanding, it's not just literally from 9:15 in the morning. Yes, we're 15 minutes earlier this year. It's also about the networking at the end of the day in the bar as well.
For definite. I mean, last year I was in the bar, I think, until 10 or 11 o'clock at night, possibly later.
No, I think it was amazing.
Those formed some really important relationships, which have been, have led to other things during the course of last year. So no, absolutely, the networking's great. I think the advantage of actually presenting is that people get to know what you do, people approach you, and yeah, I mean, the contacts that I've got out of the summit have been really, really useful and fantastic, and I'm sure that anyone else attending will have a similar experience.
So the website's fairly easy, bquinevents.com, bquin.events.com/NDS. You can also go direct to Eventbrite, type in National Development Summit 2020, and you won't just find Evan there, you'll find a number of different speakers. John East, we mentioned Jay Harrod, Piotr Ryskinek. There's about almost 20 people involved, and I will be speaking very little that particular day. Yet I will be staying there late to the night, staying over, because it's, for me, the relationships after the event as much as during the event as well.
Yeah, completely agree.
So, look, that's it for the moment. I know you can see half my face. You'll see the full face at the National Development Summit 2020.
Whole face.
Thank you.